Alright, so we're going to be talking about the kidney in this unit today, and the first thing you want to know about it is that the relationship between kidney and nitrogenous waste is that the nitrogenous waste is going to be produced by protein breakdown, and the most toxic thing that can be produced is ammonia, and basically what we want to do is try to balance off the release of ammonia from the body because the ammonia itself is toxic. So there's three general strategies for this. If you are looking down here at the bottom, you can see that the simplest thing to do is just simply release ammonia. And that is easy for fish to do because they are in a large volume of water and they are going to be releasing that ammonia out into that large volume. It's going to become very dilute and not toxic at all. On the other end of the scale, we have uric acid, which is produced by reptiles and birds, and you can see it's very complex, and the whole reason for that is to cause the or to decrease the amount of water that's required for the organism to carry around to excrete its nitrogenous waste. Now, in order to get a molecule this big, it takes a lot of energy. So when we produce uric acid, it takes a lot more energy than to produce ammonia. Mammals like us, we kind of balance that off a little bit. We can carry the water with us, and so it's not such an important thing. So we spend a little less energy on it, we use a little more water, and we form something called urea. So here's some short descriptions of ammonia, urea, and uric acid on the next page. Now, the other thing that we're going to be controlling here is the movement of solute from the internal fluids, and these are specifically coming from the blood in the kidneys. Okay, so basically, if you took plasma from the blood, it would be a pale yellow color, and we are going to filter that out. That's the filtrate, and we are going to concentrate that and return most of it back to the blood, and then return some of it to the urine to excrete. So there's four processes listed here: filtration, reabsorption, secretion, and excretion. Obviously, filtration is going to be the first thing. That's where we're going to filter the plasma from the blood, and it's going to enter the kidney, and then we are going to generally then reabsorb almost all of it right back up again. We can then secrete stuff back into the kidney from the blood, and that is going to be things like drugs or other chemicals that we might not want in the body that were not filtered out initially. And then finally, urine is our excretion product. So we have two parts to it. We'll show you that in a second. And here are your kidneys right here. And of course, kidneys are going to be where the filtration is going to occur. Then it's going to drop through the ureter into the bladder, and from the bladder out the urethra and out the body. So here are those two regions. So we have the cortex on the outer part here, and then we have the medulla on the inner part here. And this little pelvis right here is where all the urine kind of collects. And it's like a little kind of a drip pan, if you will, and then that'll travel down the ureter into the bladder. And the main unit here of the kidney is called a nephron, and the nephron has these parts to it here. We have the glomerulus, which is the blood vessels that are coming in, Bowman's capsule, which is where the filtration is going to occur, and then beyond that we have our proximal convoluted tubule. And then if we go down here, we're going to have the loop of Henle. This is a descending loop of Henle, and the ascending loop of Henle, and then the distal convoluted tubule, and then we have what's called the collecting duct. So remember, it's filtration, reabsorption, secretion, and excretion. That's approximately where they are. So there's the kidney, and there's the stuff I just described. And here's a little bit closer detail of those. Alright, so the primary thing that's going to cause the blood to get filtered out is blood pressure, and that's going to force out the really small stuff, salts, glucose, amino acids. It's not going to force out blood cells or large proteins. If those are found in the urine, then we get problems in Bowman's capsule, and that's where we get a lot of our kidney disorders. So and here's the pathway we talked to you about before. So it's going to go from the Bowman's capsule, proximal tubule, the loop of Henle, descending and ascending, and then the distal tubule, distal convoluted tubule, and then the collecting duct. And then this is some other stuff about the blood vessels that surround it. Feeding is going to come the afferent, taking away is going to be the efferent, and then capillaries are going to be the point where we're going to get the stuff transferred. So reabsorption takes in, I don't know, 99% of what gets taken out, and that all happens in the proximal tubule. And in the descending loop, we get some more reabsorption. It's becomes saltier the farther down we go, and so water leaves the filtrate and goes back into the blood. So that's the hyperosmotic part there. It's very salty, and the farther down you go, the saltier it gets, so the more water leaves. There we go. So farther down, saltier, 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 and so water leaves, and that all gets reabsorbed. That serves to concentrate it. Ascending loop of Henle is it's now permeable to salt, but not water. So now the salt comes in, and then the water does not. So there's the salt going out, permeable there. So water out here, salt out here. And at this point then we make it very dilute. And then the distal tubule. The distal tubule is where we get a lot of our secretions occurring. So there's going to be a lot of stuff, ions moving back and forth, and that's going to pull some stuff back into the blood. And the collecting duct is imagined exactly what you would imagine it to be. It's going to collect everything that we've gotten through there, and it's going to go back out. It is also, again, permeable to water, so it becomes more concentrated. And probably maybe only 1% of what goes out ever actually, of the original filtration, ever actually ends up as urine. So there we go. You can see here that we become increasingly salty and concentrated. And just a summary of what's going on in terms of transport. Some active, some passive.